Hi, welcome to episode 37 of the Woodwind Doubling channel. Today we're talking about playing in a section. Now this is one of the skills that saxophonists usually have down pretty well, as we tend to be playing in big bands and things like that in our formative years. It's a bit more difficult for people who come from, say, flute, oboe, or clarinet or bassoon as their principal instrument, who then have to adapt to not only playing the saxophone, but playing the saxophone in that particular context. The way that much saxophone writing is done is different from what they're used to as probably classical players. You get a lot of sectional things where it's a line that's then harmonized or thickened with moving chords all the time. And the inner parts in saxophone section lines can be really awkward technically to play. And when you practice them, it doesn't really sound like anything musical. It's only in the context of the full section that things start to make sense. Anybody who's ever played any Thad Jones charts knows this. If you're practicing the second tenor part, it sounds like hell. It just doesn't make any musical sense at all. Now, in order to do this and illustrate it today, I thought, well, it'd be nice to do something in the way of playing a saxophone section part. But then it's like, well, most of the things that are really recognizable and iconic are not in the public domain or something I wouldn't have the rights to. So I'd have to be paying for it. Now, since I actually want to make a little bit of money down the road in this channel, I decided to create something myself. So what I did is I actually took an improvised trumpet solo on an older tune. It's called Singin' the Blues. So I'm using the changes from that and using an improvised line from that. This was a tune that was done a lot in the 20s and 30s. This is from, I adapted this part from a Fletcher Henderson version with a Rex Stewart trumpet solo. So I took Rex Stewart's solo and said, this sits nicely for saxophones. So then harmonized it, and because it's from that era, it'd normally be a four-piece saxophone section, did it with two altos and two tenors. And I'm actually going to put up a scrolling shot of the finale file that I used for it, so you can follow along and see the harmony parts. They're actually notated the way they are on the like transposed parts, so you can see what the player actually sees. And you can see that the lines are a little bit awkward at times on inner parts. You can also see places in there where I've put part crossings, where a note transfers from one part to another to avoid repeated notes. If you're writing saxophone solis or indeed solis in jazz for any section, you kind of want to avoid repeated notes on the parts where the chord changes. If the lead note moves, the other notes should move. It doesn't quite sound right, except in some particular circumstances when things don't move in that way. You can scan along and see one bit in there where I have the lead alto part moving on a note and the other notes sustaining underneath. It's because it's on a diminished chord, and having a full sort of movement on diminished chords doesn't really work as well. But just having that upper part move in a kind of an appoggiatura over the chord really works quite nicely on that one. You'll notice a few other things in there. Certainly, if you have questions about them, just get in touch with me, and I can even maybe do an episode in the future on how I write those things. But for now, here it is. Here's the saxophone section thing, two altos and two tenors, and you can scroll along on the finale part, and see you next time on the Woodwind Doubling channel. Thanks for watching, and as always, please subscribe if you haven't already.